Maguire, and should he be anywhere near the England team?
I'd probably buy that if the sentence included Man United. But when it says England, I feel like you should suffer with me. So I'll get rid of that. But no, on a serious note, I do think that's a little bit too harsh. Look, I don't think he should be Manchester United captain. I don't necessarily think he should be starting every week for Manchester United. But one of the things he has been is he's been pretty good for England. And when I take away, I think one of the big problems for him at Manchester United is the fact that he's the captain. So therefore, he ultimately feels like he don't belong. Like, he's a little bit fraudulent in the dressing room, and you've got real winners around you like Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo. But I actually think had he not had the armband, I think his performances probably would have been better at United. And I also think that don't affect his performances for England, whether that's right or wrong. You've seen him play for England under Gareth Southgate and do well. At the Euros, he was one of the best players about. So I don't necessarily feel like that's the case, and I do feel like that's too harsh.
It is one night over. So what? Before we go to that, Dan, what's our thoughts on this Harry Maguire thing?
Because I think it's a great shout, man. I think we should bring it up quickly before we do go into it. Let me just introduce everyone first, and then we'll start with that debate. Want to say a huge welcome back to everybody. Welcome to everyone in the chat as well. And thank you all for coming back on. We had a great show a couple of weeks ago in relation to the top four. I wanted to get you all back on to see if our opinions have changed and see if anyone has any differences. We know that there's only one place to start, really, and that's going to be West Ham and Spurs after we have this quick debate. But I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for coming in. Welcome, Rich, for coming back. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Apart from all form the last couple of weeks since we last spoke. Good.
We'll get into that, bro. And then all the Dans. We've got Lawless, we've got Dan from Football One, and we've got Tobes. How you doing, boys?
All good. Thank you for having me back on, mate. Appreciate it.
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me back on.
I'm even better, mate. I bought my tickets for the Lyon game today. Got my tickets snapped up. Enjoying some European football. Loving it.
Gonna be happy. Well, considering that Seville were always going to beat us, call it Tobes. You know what I mean? Done well.
Listen, miracles happen, but that's the only miracle they're gonna experience this season. Yeah, cool.
We're gonna get into that. Let's quickly talk English centre backs in terms of Harry Maguire, then, because I think it's a great shot. I spoke to a friend of mine the other day, and he said the two best English centre-backs, in his opinion, this season, and I'd love to bring Rich in on this, has been Kilman and Ben White. So it'll be interesting to see what people's thoughts of that are and how Harry Maguire can get into this England first team. Some may be saying the squad, maybe that's a bit harsh. I don't think we're blessed with 15 or 16 centre-halves that are English that are all top quality. So I'd love to get opinions on that. Rich, let's start with you, man.
I genuinely don't understand why Kilman's not in this latest squad. I think his form across the season, he has been arguably Wolves' most consistent player. I don't necessarily buy into a raw stats argument for any player because, we can all make numbers work, but you stack up Kilman's raw stats against Ben White's, you stack it up against Maguire's, and I think he's head and shoulders above both of them in terms of the raw tackles, interceptions, headers, anything like that. I think he wins it every time at the moment. And again, for a competent ball playing centre half who can do the dirty work as well, I don't quite get it. Maybe the fact he plays in a back three, and England don't always go with a back three. He's a bit different in terms of he's a left-footed who plays on the right side, which again is a bit unusual at definitely at Premier League level. I don't understand why he hasn't got a call up to this squad at the moment, especially when you consider the form of other players like Tyrone Mings is in there. I don't understand it genuinely.
No, I'm with you, mate. Definitely. I think it's a shambles. Lawless, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, listen, this is the thing. If we are picking players on form, and that's what Southgate said he would do, would pick players based on their form, Maguire really shouldn't. Listen, Mings definitely shouldn't be anywhere near that team, and Maguire has been awful. And I said this on another show. Even Craig Dawson should be there ahead of Maguire. Even Craig Dawson. If we're looking at form, I know, you shook your head then. But if we're
Tobes is
going
in
on
bits.
form,
Tobes is in bits.
what are we doing? Are we picking a player, a man that tackles his own teammates? Are you saying that Dawson? I'm not saying Dawson is the answer and is the guy. All I'm saying is, to me, he would right now he's ahead of Maguire. Maguire is a joke. He's embarrassing, mate. Every time I see him, there's a new calamity that he's a part of. So, yeah, I don't think. I think that a message should be sent, and maybe that would give Maguire a kick up the backside, that he needs.
Tobes.
Yeah, I'm completely ignoring that Craig Dawson chat because that's.
You want Eric Dyer, yeah, Eric Dyer.
I don't want Eric Dyer, even though Eric Dyer's been in good form this season. Like I've said this many a time, but I don't want Eric Dyer in the squad because I don't think he's good enough to start for England, and I don't think Craig Dawson is good enough to be even in the squad for England. And listen, Max Kilman, I like Kilman. I've always liked Kilman. I remember when he first came into the team for Wolves under Nuno, I liked him. Even when they were struggling, I thought at the very least, like this is a guy who looks half decent on the ball and he can actually defend. But what I will say is this: if we're basing it on form, yeah, you're right. Harry Maguire shouldn't be in the team. It's been terrible, but we all know Gareth Southgate likes his favourites. We know that if there are certain specific players that are fit, they're going to be in the squad. I'm talking about Trippier. I'm talking about Maguire. I even remember back when Harry Kane was playing poorly, back in October, November time. There was all this talk of, he shouldn't be in the squad if it's based on form. And on form, he was terrible. But there was no way on earth. Harry Kane was going to be dropped from the team. And I think that's the case for Maguire. If we look at the defenders as well, Culture Camps, big up Camps, he made a great point on stoppage time. And he said that when you look at who Southgate's going to trust, Maguire is one of his lieutenants. Like, if you look at the two tournaments England have played in, we have to be honest. When you deeper and you think about it, Maguire's been probably up there with one of England's best players across both tournaments. So with Gareth Southgate, I think there's always going to be that bias there because, as Cam's rightly pointed out, this guy's actually been one of his best performers across two different tournaments. So he's always gonna have Maguire's back no matter how badly he plays. And then my last point on this is, yeah, Kilman's been good, but what about Tomori? Tomori's been excellent this season as well. He should be in the squad. So I think the England centre back conundrum, it's always going to be there. It's always going to rumble on and on and on because Maguire's always going to make the team. John Stones, if he's fit, is going to make the team. And then that really only leaves like two more slots. Conor Cody will probably make the team because of his experience. And again, Gareth Southgate is one of the guys that has been at a previous tournament as well.
Yeah. He likes leaders, doesn't he, Southgate? But, I joke about Tyrone Mings, but he's captain at Villa. Cody gets in, captain at Wolves. Maguire gets in, captain at Man United. Trippier is now out injured or whatever, but strong leader in the dressing room. He likes players who have got that, I don't know, like locker room presence, I guess. And you could argue that maybe the likes of Kilman and Tomori don't quite have it, which is a bit of a shame because it's the international call-up conundrum, isn't it? In terms of whether you go form of the last 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever, or you go. You said like Maguire hasn't ever really let England down, has he?
No, he hasn't. Well, not in major tournaments. Yeah, we have.
No, I agree with that. He hasn't. But one thing I look at, this is how I look at it, right, is that he's right on a hiding for nothing now. Like, I don't think he's been playing well. Other players have like for instance, Trent, when he weren't playing well, dropped. Like Dyer, if you want to have a look at Dyer, Dyer's lived up to his name for 6 months, dropped, but now he's producing, not back in. And I just think with these two friendlies, I just think it would have been better for all round just to leave him out, get him refreshed, get his head round things, and then like come back. But what happens now if he has a nightmare playing for England? Then you're going to turn around and say, "Oh, he's having a nightmare for England. He's had a nightmare here." I just think he's just having a bad time of it at the moment. He's not a bad player. Let's get this right. He's not. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at Man United. But
it's not a good one either, though.
Well, I don't. Listen, I was watching him when he was at Hull. He was just doing. I think there's a different pressure times when you play for Man United or someone like. You're under scrutiny a little bit more. But ultimately, he's just not been doing the business. And I just think like. if he has one more disaster for England, I just don't know where to go with him.
Yes.
Dan United, just bring you in, man. Harry Maguire's your guy. He's your captain. And at the moment, he's Gareth Southgate's guy. And I think Gareth Southgate, the boys have brought some good points there. There's a genuine debate about Pickford and Ramsdale. Obviously, Ramsdale's now injured, so it's going to be Pickford. And to be fair, Pickford hasn't let Gareth Southgate down. So I think that he would have stuck with him anyway, even though Ramsdale's been brilliant this season. And I think the same is going to go with Harry Maguire, if I'm honest with you, Dan. And probably John Stones, even though he's not been playing for Man City. I think that he looks at what the tournaments have done so far, and those guys are going to come in. So what's your thoughts, mate?
He's probably the best right now, John Stones. Sorry, I just
There you
wanted
go.
to...
I
think
you're probably right.
You've literally just touched on it. Like, you completely. I mean, I get the arguments and the Maguire and White thing, but why is no one talking about Pickford? Pickford is the in a team that is absolutely shipping goals. He's not had a great season, but nobody has said a thing about him. The thing with Maguire is, should he be in this squad? No, he shouldn't. But should most of the England regulars be in this squad? No, they shouldn't. It's a nothing game. This is the games where you give these players like Tomori, like Kilman, you give these players who are on the outskirts the chance to prove themselves. Because this is, at the end of the day, this is nothing. If anything, for me, I don't think England should even be playing these friendlies. This could curtail so many teams in the Premier League season for a pointless friendly. The likes of Arsenal. If Ben White goes and does his cruciate in this game, that's a massive blow. If Maguire does, everyone said, but it's a blow for United, regardless of his form. It's a blow for United. If Harry Kane goes and does something, it's a blow. These terrible friendlies shouldn't be happening. But I do stick with the fact that I don't think Maguire should be in the squad. You do pick him on form, and I know we said that, and Tobe says a great point there. He does have his generals, but I kind of feel like Maguire's been suffering so much, and this goes back before Ranieri. This goes back all the way to Ollie. When you're in bad form, the great managers they take you out the side, they give you that break, and then they feed you back in. Maguire has played, bar a couple of games, every minute for Manchester United. Now, when you're in bad form, you know you're in bad form. But when you're in bad form playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, you are going to be scrutinised for every touch you do. And he looks terrified every time he's on a pitch. Now, Maguire, when he plays for England, when he played in the Euros, he was picking the ball up. He was bringing it out from the back. He was spraying it 34 yards. He was picking his passes out. For United at the moment, he looks like a deer in the headlights. So to sum it up, should he be in the squad? No, I don't think he should be. But I get why Southgate has picked him, as Pickford's in there as well. He will pick the players that don't let him down. But again, this is a sort of this sort of a friendly. If even I don't think we should be playing, but you should be picking the likes of Kilman, Tomori. You should be giving these boys a chance to show themselves.
I agree. I totally 100% agree. And judges, I just want to finish on this because I do want to move on after this point. Like, I look at what Dan's saying there, and I think it's spot on. Like, I would not actually care if Ramsdale and White and all that didn't play. I'd rather them just play for Arsenal. I don't care about kicking the ball in a friendly. But I do think at the same time, there is that kind of mentality of, I deserve to be in this team. Why am I not?
100%, and I think I've got to ask the question. You know what I mean? Like, if this was a World Cup qualifying game and Ramsdale was fit, I think Ramsdale should come in. It's not just because of it being Arsenal's goal. You know, I just think that you Dan hit the nail on the head there. We talk about Maguire. I think like someone like Pickford's loving that. He's going, I'm glad you picked him because it's taking the heat straight off of him. So I think that there are a couple of big questions for him. I think that, you know, Harry Kane's situation is different. I think because Harry Kane, we all know that Harry Kane's a really good player. But it'd be interesting to see if Harry Kane would have continued his form that he was at the beginning of the season, carried it on, what would have happened. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, for instance,
he would have stayed.
He would have stayed in the team.
He's the captain, isn't he? He's not going anywhere. He's the captain. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's got credit in the bank and quite rightly so. But Rashford's another one that's lost form, and he plays for Manchester United and he's out. You know, Sancho was lost form, you know, when he weren't getting it out. So it does seem to be like one rule for one for another. And I think that's why a lot of people go off England and Gareth Southgate, because he does have these. I remember Gareth Southgate once going, if you're not playing for your team and you're not in form, you won't play for England. John Stones didn't play 1 minute of Premier League football and was playing for England in the qualifiers earlier
I'm
on.
glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because that's completely right. There's been so many times where John Stones has been out of the City team, can't get anywhere near it, but he still starts for England. But there's just because Harry Maguire at the moment he's got the biggest target on his back. He has, and because of that, everyone will hammer him for it. And I just don't understand. There's been so many times in the past, and I go back to Pickford, and John Stones is a classic one where you say if you're not informed for your team, then you shouldn't be in. Well, why is John Stones? I've seen in the chat people saying John Stones is one of our better defenders. Well, if you're not playing, you shouldn't be in the team. So it just feels at the moment there is such an agenda against Maguire. He is struggling, of course he is. But it's not just Maguire. Maguire isn't the reason United are shit at the moment.
I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
I think he's one of the reasons, though. He's a big problem for Man United. We have to be honest. He's a big problem for Man United. He makes a mistake every other game, and he's just not suited to playing that sort of front-footed brand of football because he just doesn't have the physical. He doesn't have the physical capability to get up and down the pitch with ease.
Well, pace, fair enough, but physical, he's one of the strongest in the air, Tobes. I'd say physical, fine, but sprint, yeah, with his pace, I get that, and that's probably why they've tried to keep Varane there so much because Varane does have that little bit of pace, but. Let's not forget here. Last season, everyone was saying that Lindelof was a bag of shit, and now this season, apparently Lindelof is the answer. United fans forget so easily, and I think it goes further back. I think the guy's just been overplayed, and I think he's suffering from it now. To be honest.
Well, we will see, won't we? Who is going to be getting into this side, and I'm hoping and praying personally we don't see many Arsenal players playing because I want to keep them fit for this top four race, which is now what we're going to go into talking about. There's only really one place to start, and that is, of course, the great debate between Tobes and Lawless, West Ham and Spurs. Now, it's kind of a cushion blow to each of you, really. Not so much for Tobes, just because Tobes come out and was so confident that West Ham weren't going to beat Seville and that they weren't going to win the Europa League. Of course, Lawless, and fair play, you said, look, we've got a chance, and I gave you a chance of doing well in this competition. Lawless, I'll start with you, man. In terms of West Ham and this top four race, do you now just go all out for the Europa League, or do you concentrate on the top four?
Yeah, look, I think we do go all out on the Europa League. I think we need to definitely keep an eye on the league because we don't want to finish out of Europe. We don't want to just completely put all our eggs into this basket and then something, because it's cup football. Like I said, anything can happen. We could win, we could still lose, and then if we lose that and then we finish 8th, then it's a disaster. So we still want to try and stay within touching distance, because the thing is, with the top four race, if you ask me, do I think West Ham will get fourth this season? Of course, I'm going to say no. However, as long as we're still in that race, we're still up in that conversation, we're going to finish in a good position, which could be 5th, could be 6th, worst case 7th. Okay, we're in the conference like Spurs were, but we get some great away days, right? So yeah, the Europa League is everything for us. I'd love to win it, but I don't want to sort of completely. We just have to try and play a strong team. But we can't just okay, we have to rest Antonio. We're gonna rest, Zuma and stuff like that in the league. We need to be clever about it and rotate certain key players that you can afford to rotate, but they still put out a team that you think is capable of winning on the day. And when we come. Go on, sorry.
So I was just going to say, will you be disappointed? Say, I don't know who you've got in between, in front of these two games. So, would you be disappointed if say, Moyes played a strong team, or would you be yeah, I can understand it if he didn't play strong? Do you know what I mean? So that rest key players. So, for instance, Antonio wouldn't play on the Sunday, but then he'd play on the Thursday, and then he'd play on the. Wouldn't play on the Sunday and would play on the Thursday again. Would you be disappointed if because I think that West Ham have got to do that now. If I've been really, really honest, that's why I want West Ham to go very, very deep in this competition, because Arsenal have got them coming up. And I feel that they've really got to just... I think the one thing that's been West Ham's downfall is that they've not had a big enough squad. So I think now you've, as you said, it's Europa League or bust for Champions League. And I think it'd be such a big thing if West Ham could win it. I think he'd be mad if he didn't rest a few players.
Yeah, I think I know. Everton is our next game. I think you have to pick and choose. Someone like Antonio, for me, can't keep playing can't be playing 3 games a week. He just can't do it. I don't think he's just not got the stamina to do that. But someone like Declan Rice at his age can play, right? So I played Declan Rice because I think he has got the fitness about him. Jared Bowen, when he comes back from injury, has got the fitness. It's just certain players, like I think our team can drop Antonio and maybe put Bowen up front, get Vlasic in, then still be strong. Maybe try and start strong and get a goal or something, and then sort of sub off some players and rotate that way. But I just think I don't want to say us put a complete second string team out in the league and just go into free fall, because at the end of the day we can get past Lyon, then Frankfurt or Barcelona. If Frankfurt beat Barcelona, they're going to be a super tough side. If Barcelona win, it's going to be a real tough side. So we've still got to keep in our mind, believe we can possibly win it, but think of, okay, if we don't want to completely lose our position in the league. It's tough. It's a real tough conundrum Moyes has got himself in, and he has got himself in that position because he said, right, there's no one out there that I really, really want to get right now. So we're not just going to bolster the squad to bolster it. So we'll wait till the summer. He made that decision. Now he's got to find a way to make it work, and balance it.
Tobes, you were really confident that Seville were going to beat West Ham. Obviously, it didn't happen. How shocked were you, bro? You must have been shocked, man. You seemed confident they were going to get knocked out.
I was.
Look at Lawler's face.
To be honest, they should have put the game. They should have put the tie. They should have buried the tie in the first leg. So that was annoying. So they went into it with a slim lead. But once, I literally saw all I needed to see was the first 20 minutes of that game, and I said, "Yeah, safe." I'm in trouble because I just couldn't see West Ham not beating them. And to be honest, I didn't really do my research because they've actually been in quite poor form as of late. They've got a lot of injuries, which is fair, but they're struggling to score goals. They've not won in their league for a couple of weeks now as well. And the performance that they put in was just pathetic for a side who are trying to get through into the next round. They just came to. They just basically came to try and sit back and soak up pressure and keep the ball for keeping's sake. They didn't really look like scoring, apart from that one chance where Areola saved it. So that's annoying. And as I said on the stream, if they beat Sevilla, I'll have to take them a bit more seriously. And unfortunately, I have to. And they got a favourable draw. I think Lyon got some good players, but to be honest, over 2 legs, if West Ham can keep their core base fit right now, I reckon they can beat them over 2 legs, but it's fine. Barcelona, I think they got their tails up. I think Barca won't let me down this competition. So I think I'm fairly certain I'll have the last laugh here.
Do you know what? I love the change in how you're talking now. I'm fairly certain. All of that, none of this. You ain't doing this, Barcelona.
Oh, so you want me to talk absolutes? You're still not fucking winning shit. You're not winning.
Yeah. Listen, mate, I'm telling you. Listen, we'll keep coming back to it.
Come back to it. You'll beat Lyon and then you get dumped out in the semis.
I know if we beat Barcelona in the semis, you will be shitting yourself.
You won't beat Barcelona in the semis. I'm literally waiting. I'm gagging to see you at the new camp. I'm gagging to see you at the new camp. I don't care what Antonio will probably rip Eric Garcia and PK, but if he's gonna do that to them, just only God knows what Dembele is going to do to Creswell, what Aubameyang is going to do to Craig Dawson. I'm licking my lips.
That's the England centre-back you're talking about there.
Yeah. Excuse me, Craig Dawson's been up against flipping Aubameyang this season, I'm pretty sure, and before they sold him early on in the season. But I know they did win. Yeah.
The game you got rinsed. You got
but I don't think Aubameyang didn't even score that day. Did he
even play? I thought it was Lacazette.
Boy, I can't even remember. But either way, we've played it. You're acting like Aubameyang is an unknown, is this unknown quality West Ham.
I never said he was. I gave you one player.
Zuma has played against Aubameyang. I'm just saying.
Zuma got sat down in a cup final against Aubameyang. Did he not?
I'm just saying we're massively underdogs. We're massive underdogs,
Yeah.
of course, but there's always a chance. Upsets
Whatever,
happen,
man.
and if we do it, jeez, you know what? Yeah, you should come on here singing Bubbles if we beat.
I'm not
Arsenal.
singing a damn fucking
You should,
bubble.
if you,
No,
because you know there's a
no,
chance.
thank you. No,
You
thank
know
you.
there's a chance.
I want you to meet Barcelona, and then we'll see if you're talking. Cool.
But if it's Frank,
And I don't even rate Barcelona highly these days, but boy, they got enough to dispatch West Ham.
Tobes, you managed to probably like smooth it over a bit by Spurs turning it on in this top 4 race in relation to West Ham.
Okay.
Do you think you've dumped West Ham out of top 4 now in now that you beat them at the weekend?
It's only a 3-point gap, so not really, no. But to be honest, did I expect West Ham to go? Did I expect West Ham to finish top 4 even before we played them? No. Did I expect West Ham to finish in the top 4 at any point this season? Nope. But did I think that they could challenge? Yeah, because they challenged last season. So, I did. It's not really changed anything for me. West Ham were not a team that I expected to finish 4th come game 38. But it was good to beat them, and it was good to sort of push them further down the table. And if we're calling them a fellow top 4 competitor, which they are, then those are the teams that you really have to beat when you play them. Those points, as you've seen, matter quite a lot. I'm sure we're going to talk about North London derby. I'm sure we're going to talk about Man United versus Arsenal, etc., etc. So these teams are going to be playing each other over the next couple of weeks and months, and those points could prove crucial. So us beating West Ham at this stage of the season, I think psychologically it's a boost for us, and it's a hammer blow for them. Pun intended.
Judges, now that Tottenham have come back into the swing, are you a little bit nervous? I'm looking at Kane and Son playing well. I don't know. I've never thought Tottenham are out of it. I know.
No, I've never said Tottenham are out of it. I think I think that West Ham and Wolves now have probably gone out of it, like very much long shots now. I think, like, in the race. Listen, Tottenham, I said this yesterday. I say it now. Tottenham got 6 points and no one else has got. Take that 6 points off, which they got against Man City. Man City lost 3 games this season, twice to Tottenham. Take those 6 points off, which no other team is going to get. They'd be lower than West Ham and be out of it themselves. So for me, that was still a game changer, still key 6 points. Because they've lost to Southampton, they've lost to Burnley, but we've all lost to games that we've not meant to have not lost. I.e., we've lost to Everton, we've drawn against Burnley at home. So we've all had them. West Ham have lost to Wolves at home, other teams at home as well, as they probably shouldn't have done. But when it comes to that Manchester City game, like, as well as we played against them, we didn't get nothing out of it. They got 6 points. So, and that puts them in a position where they've got a chance. They're still very, very much in it. Listen, I said it yesterday and I say it again. With Kane and Son in their side, they've got a real danger. What you've got to do against Spurs is make sure you don't go a goal down. Simple as that, like, you know what I mean? And then say, right,
I agree.
Then you come and break us down a little bit. But as soon as you go 1-0 down and start pushing onto them, you're playing right into their hands. So it'd be interesting, It'll be interesting over the next few weeks. Listen, Arsenal will drop points at some stage of the plot, and so will probably Spurs. But the good thing is that if Arsenal can win 7 games, like that, I think that may be enough. Spurs have got to win 9. So it's a tough order. From that point of view, but there will be points dropped somewhere along the line. So, and I'm not going to write out Man United. I think they're 1 point off of Tottenham with the same games now. I think that is it 4 in front. We're 4 in front of them, but they've got players in their team that are match winners, as you see it against Tottenham. I didn't think they played that well against Tottenham. I think with a better side. I thought on the day, and I thought Tottenham were going to win this. But Man United found a way through Ronaldo, and they've got other players that on their day can turn up, and if it clicks, then Man United are a real force. So I think that it's still very, very much in the offering for all 3. I think Arsenal at this moment in time have got the advantage because they've got the points in the bag, but also they've got a little bit of initiative. And I still think it will come down. I know as Harry Kane, everybody going, oh, Harry Kane and Son. I still believe that defensively, Arsenal were the best out of the three. And I think that will be the thing that gets us through.
We'll come into that, Lee, 100%. Dan United, let's come to you just quickly on Spurs, man. I know that, Manchester United we're going to get into in a minute, but Harry Kane and Son and Conte were the three reasons that I thought they had a chance at top four. And people were writing them off when they lost to Burnley and they went through that real terrible run and Conte come out and did his madness. But since then, I think they have always been a threat because of the players they've got up top. And I like their fixtures. I'm looking at everybody else's fixtures. I think they've probably got the best run. If I'm right, Tobes, you've got obviously a North London derby and Liverpool. Is that
it? It's North London derby, Liverpool away, and then I guess like Aston Villa away, probably the toughest. And then I think the rest of the teams are either lower half of the table, really and truly. I think on average we got the lowest position, the lowest sort of position on average of all the sides that are in the hunt for top four. So our fixtures are favourable, but unfortunately the team isn't.
Well, this is it, and we'll come on to this. Dan United, let's come to you. Comparing them to Manchester United at the moment, do you know what position would you rather be in, looking at how Tottenham are playing and how United are playing, bro?
It's a tough one because, as Conte quite rightly said, with the United game when we won 3-2, he said, "Well, Ronaldo," and it was just Ronaldo. As simple as that. We were disjointed. Again, it goes back to the basics where I just didn't see a solid plan moving forward with the team. Spurs are doing what Spurs can do, and that's all they can do is just grind result after result after result out. But for every great performance, it's those little results that let them down, like the Burnley result. And I think that's where Spurs and United are kind of in the same boat this season. On our day, brilliant. Yeah, we can go on and beat top teams. But I don't know, Tobes, it's kind of like Liverpool of the noughties. Do you remember when Liverpool of the noughties, they were a team that were just in and around. They were sort of between third and sixth, and on their day they could beat everybody. And I kind of feel that's where we are at the moment. I think Spurs and United are in that situation where, yeah, we've got these players that can absolutely on their day smash the shit out of it. Ronaldo was absolutely incredible in that game. Kane and Son, absolutely fantastic. The way they're playing, the symmetry that they have, it's like they've been playing together for 10 years. But I just feel like it's a case of going back to that saying, on their day. And that's what's different. That's what's different between us and the top three. And I suppose Arsenal, you could say, is on our day, we can beat anyone. And I think that's where Spurs are just as much as United.
Yeah, I think with Spurs, the Liverpool comparison is interesting. I think, and I know, of course, you didn't mean it like literally to the letter. I would say that Liverpool side of the noughties, they played better football than both sides. And I think their team, of course, costs less than United's, etc. But I get the point you're making, just teams sort of hovering around. I think with Man United and Spurs, yeah, I think the concern and the obvious issue that they've had all season is both sides have just looked disjointed throughout. I think Spurs were slowly beginning to find some semblance of a rhythm, but then again, I would question the level of opposition that we've played in recent weeks. That's probably got us the number of wins that we've had. But I think fundamentally, both Man United and Spurs just look too disjointed. I think both sides have like an imbalance in their starting 11, where there are players who just aren't really comfortable in possession. You've got mismatch of profiles. You've got wing backs who can't cross. You've got fullbacks who can't really play with the ball at their feet. You've got centre backs who can only play one system. You got midfielders who can't really progress the ball. So you got forwards who can't really move or offer themselves outside of a goal scoring option. So there's just, as I said, Spurs is one of the worst squads that I've seen in my lifetime as a Spurs fan. When you look at how much money we spent, and then Man United, when you look at how much money they've spent as well, again, you go through the team man for man, and they've got some stars, but there's a serious dearth in technical quality in that squad. So I think Arsenal, unfortunately, are just the most balanced side. Them and West Ham, I would say, the most balanced side. What West Ham probably lacking in terms of star quality, but in terms of balance, Arsenal and West Ham, you'd probably say, are the most sort of what's the word? Yeah, balanced.
Fair play. Rich, let's come to you, man. Wolves, I watched you, man, against Leeds, and I was like, this is easy. Like, Wolves are playing well. And then that madness incident happened. And it kind of ruined the game, really. But I've got to big up Leeds. They were great the way they come back. But has that kind of put a nail in the coffin? I know a couple of weeks ago you already said I don't think we're really in and around the top 4. Has that just confirmed things for you now?
I think so. Between the defeat to Leeds and the defeat to Crystal Palace, defeats for both kind of different reasons. We didn't learn our mistakes from playing Palace the first time. We were a good team this year. And we played a bad system against them, got beat, and you hold your hands up. Got 2 wins against Everton. I mean, that's just a banker at the moment, isn't it, beating Everton? So I think that was fine. Good win against Watford as well. Again, not a great team, but what we needed. And yeah, the Leeds game was disappointing because we were playing well. Like up until Jimenez's sending off, that was a perfect performance from Wolves. If we'd have probably had 11 men, we could have potentially got 3 or 4.
What did you make of that sending off, Rich?
It's frustrating. I think it was harsh. I can see kind of why the ref gave it, but I think it's harsh. Just there's a certain angle where it does look like Jimenez is just piled in on him, but I think he's not meaning to clash into him. They're both going for
That's
the ball.
my opinion.
He's not.
That's my opinion.
You know, Jimenez isn't really.
Never
Jimenez isn't really engaging to actually make a tackle or a challenge in the same way that the goalkeeper flies in to get it because he needs to win it. If Jimenez doesn't win it there, nothing really matters. Basically, if Jimenez wins it, the keeper's in big trouble. The keeper needs to win it. For me, though, all right, don't agree with the decision, but it's how we responded to it, and I think that's the real key. Like, we all have decisions go against our football team, but you need to step up and be accountable and not let it impact your game. And the game management from there, it wasn't what I expected of this Wolves team and of Bruno, where we have grinded out games. And, we had, ironically, Jimenez get sent off against Man City early in the season for a bit of daftness. And we dug in deep and we went, 9 men behind the ball. And I was surprised we didn't quite do it effectively against Leeds. And look, Leeds have got a bit of quality about them when they want to. Their league position doesn't necessarily mirror some of the quality in that side. So, yeah, I think it kind of has put the nail in the coffin. We've got some decent games still coming up where we're still going to get points on the board. I think it's just going to be a question almost of, can we finish above West Ham at this point? And it's interesting because, we're in the same position as West Ham were 2 years ago when we were in the Europa League. Ironically, we got knocked out to Seville in the quarters. But we were competing for, to be honest, we were competing for 6th place at one point and we lost to Arsenal. And that was like a game where it's like, hang on, if we'd got a point or a win out of that, we'd have potentially have got Europe. But we then kind of couldn't quite manage the games between Europa League and the Premier League as well. So, Wolves have got a mission now, and it is getting as many points on the board and trying to see who we can, pull back. And to be honest, at this point, it's probably just West Ham.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If we're being realistic, if we're able to claw back Man United, but with 4 points plus a game in hand, we need Man United to do something really stupid because
our game in hand against Liverpool, by the way.
Oh, well, that does change the situation then. Why didn't you say? I mean, I think of our last few eight games, we've got Man City and Liverpool to play. But bar that, you'd expect Wolves to be getting points out of the rest of them. But again, everyone else is still getting the points. So I'm kind of hoping that, West Ham just don't quite manage the games coming up. But I think, to be honest, if we finish 8th or 7th, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I bet you would, mate. And I said that a couple of weeks ago. Wolves are the ones that can kind of relax a little bit. Do you know what I mean? They're going to finish the season in a good place anyway, in my opinion.
Can I just
Lawless, do you
quickly
think
say
Wolves...
something?
Go on,
Sorry,
Tom.
Ben. Sorry,
Go on, bro.
Richard. A friend of
Yeah.
mine, KG, he's got his YouTube channel. He's a Leeds fan. He told me to tell you to hold that. Sorry, man.
What? How is he side? How is KG siding with you?
Man,
I told me to tell you to hold that, man. I'm sorry, man.
Oh man, Lawless, do you reckon Wolves can nip you to this in this league? So are you quite confident that West Ham can finish above them?
I mean, yeah, of course they can. Is every the fact that we have got our eyes mainly on Europe. There's every chance that we can. I mean, you saw it against Spurs. I have no doubt in my mind we don't have that game against Sevilla playing 120 minutes. We beat Spurs. No doubt in my mind. We go in and we beat Spurs. That is a fact. It is. No doubt in my mind.
Some looks here, mate.
It's true.
So by the way, guys, this is a team that have beaten us once at home in the last seven years. But he has no doubts in his mind that he comes to our ground and beats us.
Yeah. Oh, we can beat Sevilla, by the way, but we can't beat Spurs.
I don't understand where this guy.
I'm just saying
what planet this guy lives on.
I'm
what
just
are you
saying
talking about?
We beat Sevilla, but yeah, there's every chance that you go into them games, say the Lyon away, and we have to go into extra time. That's going to have a knock-on effect. I do worry, and I look at it, and they're 2 points behind us. I think we'll just have enough. I think Moyes will have, we'll have that game management about him, and we'll be able to sort of just see us over the line. But yeah, it is a worry for me. And depending on how, look, Tobes could get his wish that he's sitting there praying every night will come true, that Lyon will knock us out. And if it does, then we're just focusing on the league then as well, which I don't want to happen. But there's so many different twists and turns. The script isn't written yet. And I think a lot of people acting like everything's done and settled, mate. A lot of football left to play.
Yeah, there's so many.
Dan, do you have a bit of a fear that, because we sort of had it when we beat, would have been Olympiacos in the Europa League. Is there a bit of a feeling that Seville was a bit of your cup final? Or do you feel like, or does it still sort of feel like your journey's not ending? And that's not meant to be like a massive dig. Because to be fair, Lyon on paper, you beat Seville, fucking great result. Lyon, where'd you match them up against Seville? Probably lower. And then you say, you've potentially got Barcelona around after that. And that feels like, you know what, if you get there, you take a loss to Barcelona. And it's sort of like, well, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we went into that game. The fans went into that home game knowing that we had to do our part. We had to play our part in that game against Sevilla at home, because it's a tall order, a big team. It's going to be tough. After we created an amazing atmosphere, and it was incredible, and we saw how much that helped the team, I've no doubt that the fans won't be jaded going into the Lyon game. It's a quarter-final. The fans are buzzing. We see the part we played in the Sevilla game. I think the fans are going to be just as up for it. I think the players will be buzzing to be in it. So I don't think there's going to be any sort of complacency in that respect. And then if we get Barca, the atmosphere at the ground will be like you've never heard before in your life. And that might get us through. That might just... But yeah, I don't see us looking at Lyon and going, they're not as good as Sevilla. Like, let's take it easy. I just think the ride is what's taking us through,
It's going to be interesting.
Before we move, go on, Tobes.
No, I was just going to say it's going to be interesting time. I still back West Ham to go through over 2 legs, but Lyon can definitely knock them out, and I'm praying that it happens. Paqueta, Cacaret, Dembele, Ndombele, please just rise it, man. Just rise it, please.
We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Before I move on to Arsenal, I want to ask Dan United, lead judges, and Rich a question, right? I need Lawless and Tobes to just stay quiet for this one. In a combined to 11, who would you rather have, Soucek or Bentancur? Judges.
We had this one yesterday, like, you know what I mean? I haven't seen too much of Ben. What's his name? Bentancur. Right? I have to say, I was very impressed with him. I was, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm a big Soucek fan. I said that yesterday. I do like him, you know, and the different players. Let's get that right. The argument should be
that was my thing.
You have Declan Rice or or Bentancur. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but for me, I'm a big Soucek fan. We said this yesterday. So and he's been in the Premier League a year and a half and he smashed it. So for me, there's your answer.
Rich?
Yes, same. I've seen more of Soucek, and again, every time I've seen him, and look, I know compare his football CVs, and I wouldn't be saying Soucek. I'm going off a guy who I've seen, dominate Wolves, and Bentancur hasn't done that. Soucek and Rice have, unfortunately. Ask me in November, and I'll probably say I'll say Bentancur. But at the moment,
in March,
it's a bit odd to judge him after like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's why the question's a little bit tough. Dan United?
I mean, I can't really add anything to that. I mean, as I say, Soucek, for me, I've watched him in the Premier League for a couple of seasons now, and I don't see anything to say that I'll choose Bentancur at the moment. But that's because, as Rich said, it's just not enough time. I mean, we're talking about a player who's not really been in the Premier League too long, so there's no real. He's not established at the moment. Soucek is. When Soucek's fit, he's a bully on the ball, and I quite like the way he plays. So I think it would be Soucek at the moment. But that's not to say next season if Bentancur carries on, he's had a decent start. But I need a bit more time from him before we start looking at it.
And Tobes, you can hold that, mate. You can hold that,
bro. It's not going to change my opinion.
Maybe one day,
you lot are playing catch up. You'll see it in due course because you'll see it in due course. It's fine, no problem, no sweat.
Yeah, Tobes, I think he looks decent. I just at the moment, Soucek for me at the moment because he's proven in the Premier League, and at the moment, I've said
when you say he's proven, what is he proven at?
I think he's quite consistent for West Ham. I do.
Yeah, okay, so when you say he's consistent, this is what I love hearing this. So what is he consistent at doing for West Ham?
Well, for me, a player in the Premier League who does decent is 7 out of 10 every game. And I think that from what I've watched of Soucek, I don't watch him very much. I only watch him match of the day. And if United play him, that's what he does for me. Whereas Bentancur, again, he's played 8 weeks, so I can't say I'd pick him over. I need more. I need to see him more in the Premier League. We've seen so many players come on loan in the Premier League and come on loan and join the Premier League, have a great 6 months and then go quiet. I need to see a lot more. I want to see a full season out of him in the Premier League first.
Okay. Well, let's see what Bentancur can do because Tobes told me that Højbjerg was class and he's been shocking this season.
No, I said Højbjerg was good. I said Højbjerg was good, and he's had a shit season, but I don't think he's rubbish. He's better than Soucek as well.
Someone in the chat said, "Remember you saying Reguilon was a baller when he first came in."
He was a baller, and I wasn't the only one who thought that he was a baller.
Yeah, exactly. Now you think Bentancur's a baller, and now
no. I know. No, I don't think Bentancur's a baller. I know. I said I think Bentancur's a good player, and I think he's better than Soucek. I don't think he's elite or anything. I just think he's a good player and he's better than Soucek.
And you'll be cussing him next season.
I think from what I've seen, Bentancur is a good player.
Yeah, he's decent.
I think he looks decent. I think he looks decent. They're completely different players, in my opinion. Soucek,
yeah, because one plays better when the ball's in the air than when the ball's on the ground. That's why. Yeah. And he's a midfielder.
Let's see what happens.
And he's a midfielder. Yeah, I'm going to rate him over. All right, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to get into this.
Well, we've done this. I wanted to try and stir that pot, and I've done it. So it's all good. Right, let's move. Let's move on to Arsenal. Judges, let's start with you, man. Arsenal playing well at the moment and looking very tasty for top 4. Are you confident?
I'm going to say this now. I'm a little bit more confident. I'm still not fully done with Arsenal, saying from the point of view is that I still don't know if we're quite ruthless enough up front. I do think we've got some wonderful players up front in like Saka and Smith Rowe, but I just feel that we may just lack a few goals here and there. And what I'm saying is not necessarily by goal scoring opportunities. I think I missed just not doing the right thing, making the right decision up there. I think defensively we're very, very sound now. We've got momentum. I think that's a big thing. I think when you've got momentum, I think that's the big thing. And what I will say has been pretty good from Arsenal is that the last couple of games, forget about the Liverpool game, but we've been under a little bit of pressure to win those games, Leicester and Aston Villa. Not massive teams as far as big teams are concerned, but still decent sides, clean sheets. 2 clean sheets against them. And I think that's a thing for me where if we can keep things tight at the back four and then maybe just win by 1-0, 2-0, that's good enough, And if we can keep clean sheets, we go to Palace next game, keep a clean sheet there, nick a goal, 1-0 to that also disheartens the teams around you. I know, because we've been there before. They've won again 1-0, or they've nicked it in the last couple of minutes, or whatever. Just keeping teams like that. So for me, I think that we're doing well. We've done exactly what we had to do. We're winning the games that we should be winning. But we need a big gap. We need a big result somewhere along the line. I think that the way that it is at the moment, 3 points is not going to be enough. If we was to go to Chelsea, say, and beat them, and then follow that up with Man United, I think then that would be enough, But it's a big call at this moment to say, right, we're going to go and win the next few games, and then go to Chelsea and win. The good thing is, from Chelsea's point of view, Chelsea have got the FA Cup coming up. They've got the Champions League coming up. They've got a big squad, but ultimately, I remember us going there last season just before the final, I think it was, and they weren't quite at it. And we got the result. So I think it just depends, sort of things like that at this moment in time where we go. But we've put ourselves with those 5 wins on the 4 wins on the spin, and then beating Villa after the Liverpool defeat. We've put ourselves in pole position. That doesn't mean to say that when you're in pole position, you win.
Do you think, judges? I'm going to ask Dan and Tobes this as well. Do you think the Man United, Arsenal, and the North London derby, whoever comes out on top there, do you think that's going to kind of decide who gets top 4? Or do you think it's all about the other games?
Well, I think it's more about the other games. Listen, Arsenal can go to Tottenham and draw, and they can also draw with Man United, and that still be okay if they win the other games. So, listen, it'd be fantastic if Arsenal can go to Tottenham, knowing that even if we lose that game, we're still in our own hands. So I think that going into that Man United game and then going into the Tottenham game a bit further on, that's what we want. We want to be in the position that Tottenham were in against West Ham with that Man United game. Like, if we beat Man United, that puts them out of it. You know what I mean? A Man United knowing that they have to beat us at the Emirates. Otherwise, their Champions League dreams have expired. That's the sort of situation we want. Now, how we get in that situation it's not simple, but it's we've got to go to Palace and win them. We've got to back that up with Brighton, and then we've got
to... You're right there, Palace. I mean, Palace aren't the same team they were last season under Hodgson, are they? I mean,
no,
they are looking
very difficult game. Very, very difficult game. I watched.
Man City struggled.
Manchester City struggled against them. I've seen other teams struggle against them. So, they're a decent side. They've got the FA Cup coming up, semi-final. Might have one eye on that, who knows? But ultimately, Patrick, as much as we love him, is not going to be looking to do us a favour. It's a difficult game. Listen, Villa was a difficult game. People keep saying to me, like, Villa are no mugs. They've got some decent players. And so that's still a good performance going there and getting a result there. So we're going to have to dig in and produce that same sort of performance at Palace. Now,
100%.
Manchester United's and Tottenham's will be looking at that, and we'll be singing "I'm Glad" all over on the night, because there'd be Palace fans. But if you can get the result there, they're the game. Like, it's like when you go like Spurs, I've got Manchester City. Like, it's like Tottenham have got to go to Liverpool. It's not gimme for Liverpool. You know what I mean? Like, they go there and they give it a good go, Tottenham. You know what I mean? They've got when they beat Manchester City that night. You know what I mean? You think, you're down a little bit, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to go to Palace and win that game. You know what I mean? And then that, don't forget, the next time we play Palace, Tottenham would have played Newcastle before us, so they might actually be on the same points as us going into that game. So that will add pressure on it. They might not be. They might have lost that, and that means then we've got a chance to enhance it. So there's going to be plenty of things that they remember. But I think that the next 3 games for Arsenal are key, and that,
Huge.
Palace,
Absolutely massive.
Yeah, Palace, Brighton, and I think that we're away to Southampton. Tough games, but all winnable.
Yeah, I'm with you, judges. Dan United, let's come to you, man. You said you thought Arsenal would probably be favourites for top 4. They were your tip for it. As far as United are concerned, obviously you've had a nice little break in comparison to the others. There wasn't many games over the weekend. But are you still confident that you can get into this game and not have to beat Arsenal to get top 4? Or do you think it's a massive game when you play us?
I don't trust this United side. I mean, it's gone from bad to worse. I mean, do you know actually when Ronaldo scored the hat trick against Spurs, I said we're out the Champions League because it was just too much. It's just too much. United are not at that level. We've got stuff going on in the background with who's going to be the manager. We've got players on the team who are still struggling to bring any form to the table. I can't see us anywhere near a top 4 race. I know we're only a couple of points off, but that game in hand is against Liverpool on the teams below us. Liverpool don't look like losing at the moment, let's be honest. I just can't see how United can honestly... Okay, if we're talking... Everyone's got a chance, but if we're talking real here, I can't see it. The fixtures we've got coming up, I can't see it. Chelsea, we always seem to struggle against Chelsea. Arsenal, as someone quite rightly said in the chat, we don't seem to have the results at the Emirates very often. So I just can't see how we will finish in the top 4. I still stick with what I said. I do think it is Arsenal's to lose. The next 3 games, as you said, are key for all of us. That's for Spurs as well, but I just don't see it. I don't see United being in there this season. And in fact, actually, I don't see. I'm gonna say it now. I don't see United being in with a shout for top 4 next season either. Because you look at United. Well, no. Let's be real here, right? Let's be real. Dean Henderson will go. That's a given. You've got Phil Jones and Bailly. They're not good enough. So I'm taking them out of there. Matic is too old. He's going to go. Mata will go. He doesn't play anyway. Lingard's going to go. Pogba will go. Cavani's going to go. Greenwood will never play again. Martial probably will go. Rashford, I don't know where his head is. Ronaldo, I can't see him staying if we don't go into Champions League. That is the potential of a whole 11 wiped out. Now, you tell me any team that's going to come back from that next season and go on.
Do you think, though, Dan, that maybe you need to go down the approach that perhaps we've gone down? And I've been very critical of it. We had to reset and start again. Do you think maybe like a Ten Hag...
I would love that if the manager comes in, if whoever he is comes in next season and stands there and honestly says, this season, it's a write-off. I'm going to tell you guys now, this season, I know he's no manager's ever going to be able to say it, but be honest and say this season is a write-off. Look at the next sort of 18 months. That's where it's going to be. That's where the key is going to be. Because I'm telling you now, this isn't just a rebuild. We are seeing Manchester United imploding. It's as simple as that. Not just on the pitch, but from the stands as well. I watched United against Atletico Madrid, and Darren Fletcher got a yellow card on the side. What's Darren Fletcher doing on the sidelines? What's his job? Why is he there? And this is where I look at Ralph Rangnick, and I really hope to God whatever he's doing is the correct thing in the sense of looking at what is wrong at United. The coaching staff is completely ridiculous. The scouting staff is just... I honestly think the scouts just play Football Manager.
Recruitment's been embarrassing for Man United.
Terrible. Do you know something, right? This is where my argument is, and I felt like with so many United fans, for every great football club who goes on and wins trophy after trophy, for every superstar, you have 2 or 3 players around that player who are a standard 7 out of 10 every game. It doesn't matter what game it is. That's what they do. Manchester United have tried to do the whole bloody Galacticos thing in the noughties with Real Madrid. They try and sign the big players. They think about the players on the back of the shirt instead of the name on the front. And that is where the issue is. And so that is why Manchester United, for me, will be nowhere near the top 4. They won't finish top 4 this season. And they'll be nowhere near it next season. It's going to go from bad to worse, I'm afraid.
Blimey. Tobes, let's come to you. Up North London derby. But first of all, before we get to that, mate, let's get your opinions on Arsenal and Arteta and where you are right now with how things are, man.
Unfortunately, I can't really speak bad on Arsenal. I think you've been in really good form. I think, what is it like? I can't remember how many wins. I think it's like 8 wins in 10 or something like that. Like that is like really
won
good
10
form.
of our 13 games last
10,
13.
yeah, 10 of the last 13 or something like that. That's that's a crazy run. Like, and I think runs like that are what sort of separates you from the rest of the chasing pack when you're in this top 4 race. And it looks close now. Yeah, you're right. Like, it looks close now. Spurs are 3 points behind Arsenal or whatever, but Arsenal have got a game in hand. Granted, your game in hand is against Chelsea, but that run that you put through has given you a buffer where you can really and truly lose that game and you'll still have a lead. You lose that game, you still have a lead over Man United and a game in hand as well. So I think you lot have mashed enough work in 2022 to put up a decent enough buffer, and it's put you in a position now where really and truly you have to get the job done. If you don't get this job done, then that's a big L. It's not the end of the world, but it's a big L when you consider the work that you've put in to get yourselves into this position.
You're so right there about the 2022. It has been such a massive 2022 for Arsenal, hasn't it? It's been key, hasn't it, for them, for their rise going up the table.
Definitely.
I think so as well. I think. Yes. Sorry, I just want to bring this in because I think it's important of what we're talking about. What is Matt? Thanks for your donation. I want to ask everybody this as we kind of come to a close, really. Couple of Big Macs. There you go, Lee. You like a Big Mac. Couple of Big Macs for your boys. Question for Lee and Dan.
It was quite nice. It was quite nice. Not as nice as the normal.
You had a what?
Chicken Big Mac. Like, it was
yeah,
right,
I wasn't a fan. No,
it was all right, man. It was all right.
Oh, decent, that is, right? Decent, they are.
Yeah, decent, but not as good as the Big Mac.
Not as good for me. It says, Lee, Dan, if Arsenal don't make the Champions League, would you class the season as a success or a failure? Well, it's definitely not a success in my eyes if we don't make the Champions League. Because we come out of Europe, we spent £250 million. What, just to qualify for the Europa League again? Like, for me, it has to be top 4. And I don't think it's a success if we come out of that. What about yourself, Lee?
No, I think it'd be a disappointment if we don't get top 4 now. Put ourselves in a position of top 4. I think Arsenal were doing nothing that they shouldn't be doing. I think Arsenal were playing where they should be at this moment in time. The reason that we're talking top 4 is because Man United's capitulation of themselves, you know what I mean, with the manager and everything else. Really, Man United should be in that thing. We're just in 5th place where we are now. So for me, that's where I expect us to be. And the reason that we get 4th is because of Man United, what's happened at Man United. So, and we just hopefully are the team that goes through the door. I'll be very, very disappointed if we don't get from this position in.
I agree, man. Tobes, what about yourself? Do you think for Arsenal it will be a failure if we don't get top 4 now?
Definitely, yeah. It'll be a failure. I think Arsenal, Spurs, Man United, whoever missed out on top 4, it's going to be a big L when you look at the positions that they put themselves in entering the year. Man United probably the most, because when you look at the money they spent, when you look at the position they finished last year, okay, granted, a lot of teams weren't performing to their usual standard last year. But when you look at the expectation for this season versus the reality, they are the ones that, the fact that they're even in a top 4 race with the money that they spent, with the players that they brought in, is a disgrace in itself. But that being said, I think, as I said, Arsenal, with the position you've put yourself in now, you can't let it slip. I think if you let it slip, as I said already, it's a big L. You did the one thing Man United couldn't do. Man United had a really, when Ralph Rangnick came in, man, we looked at Man United's fixtures and said, oh wow, this is dangerous here, because they're playing a lot of teams that are below them, and they can really put themselves away from the chasing pack and sort of look upwards. And whereas they've done the opposite and just stumbled across and not taken advantage of these fixtures, Arsenal have pretty much beaten all the sides that they should be beating, and barring 1 or 2 slip-ups, they've put themselves in full spot now. So you've got yourself a buffer now heading into the tougher fixtures. Now you actually got to show your quality in these tougher fixtures, and you got to make sure you don't let it slip. Simple as.
That's a great point, Tobes, because we have only lost I think it's Brentford and Everton that we've lost, and we dropped points to Burnley, but everyone else was a top 4 side that we've lost to, the Chelseas, the Cities, the Liverpools of this world. So now what we need to do is to go in and against these teams that we've got to play West Ham, got to play Spurs, got to play Man United, got to play Chelsea.
Quality, you're that good, show your quality.
Exactly. Ridiculous fixtures. So if we are great and we are on the way up, we've got to prove it by beating those sides and getting that top 4. Because if we do not get top 4, I think it has been a failure. Lawless, I want to get your opinions on that, because I know me and you talk quite offline about Arteta and how, he's got, it's not all hunky-dory for him just yet. Like, what's your opinions on the way we're playing at the moment and what he's done, Mikel Arteta?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously the youngsters is the big plus. You know, every fan of every club, we all love to see our academy players come through, shine, and get their spot in the first team. So I think the biggest credit you can give to him really is taking a chance in that respect, and then taking a chance on some players that a lot of clubs didn't really rate like that. You know, the Ben Whites and Ramsdales and things like that, and taking a chance on them and not just going out for the Hollywood signings. So I think that has been a major credit. Like you said, really, I mean, this season, it's been the perfect season for it. No Europe, like literally just focusing on the league, went out early to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. So like the bare minimum had to be fourth this season. The bare minimum had to for Arsenal to achieve this season fourth. Everyone else you're competing against plays a lot more football. The question is, and this is what I said to Lee and Tobes when we said this yesterday, is what can he do next season when you, because like I said, you're definitely playing some kind of Europe next season. How can the team manage that? Can he get that? If he gets fourth, can he get it again with football? Because if he gets fourth this season, then you're back in Europa League the following season. It's a waste of time. So it's all about that growth and building on this to show that, okay, it's not just a purple patch. It's not just, one good season. It's a building block to then go, okay, let's try and maybe next season we can get fourth a little bit more convincingly and have a decent run in the cup. And then the season after that, maybe go further in the Champions League. And then maybe you're looking at third and just try and claw your way. Maybe you might even have a spurt and jump up and you're second or whatever. Like there has to be that progression.
Yeah.
And that's next season, it's huge.
And the word you used there, which I think is spot on, Lawless, is convincingly. And that's what I think everybody wants, is that everybody to be convinced that this is the right decision. Now, I'm 75% there. And the reason I say that is because there's a quarter of the season to go and it can still go very badly wrong for us. So if it doesn't, we get into that top four and we can build on that with the right recruitment, which we have seen, to be fair, in the last couple of windows. I think that we are on to something, the way that we're playing. I think the different formation, the styles there now. And I think some of the players have really come into their own. Thomas Partey has been magnificent in the new year. Since 2022, he's been a different player. Martin Ødegaard has been a different player. Ben White and Gabriel formed a partnership now. And really, there's only that lack of goals from the centre forward, although Lacazette does bring some other attributes that I think we're lacking at the moment, because Saka and Smith-Rowe are bringing in goals, as is Martinelli. Ødegaard's been instrumental in that. So now we're starting to see some of why people were saying, just give it time. This is going to be a patient project. We're starting to see the players come into their own now. And I'm starting to see that. It's been enjoyable. The connect between the fans. There's the telepathy now between the players and the fans again. And I think Arteta deserves credit for that, but it ain't over yet. Rich, I'd love to get your thoughts on that quickly, Rich, on Arsenal.
Similar, to be fair. I think the big positive about Arsenal, I know when we spoke a few weeks ago, we talked about how much more resilient they were. They had that bit of a nasty streak in them, that they weren't just going to be pushovers anymore. But I think the thing that sort of highlighted to me from what a lot of you guys are saying is that a lot of these players have got a high ceiling, and it's sort of coming into fruition that over the past 12 months with Arteta, he's gotten rid of players he doesn't want. He's concentrated on younger players who have got good ability now, but have also got potential to keep progressing as well. Like, you look at the Smith-Rowes and Saka's just as just two highlight names. They've not reached the ceiling of their ability, and you can still see them pushing up another notch in 6 months' time as well, hopefully. And I think that's it, to be honest, that they seem, and you've got to credit Arteta for it, to be honest, that he seems to have developed a culture within a team, and there seems to be a cohesive way of thinking, and that's portraying with the fans now. And that's what I'm seeing anyway. Arsenal fans are buying into, that there is that more, connection there. And look, whether they over celebrate victories or however you want to describe it, they did it against Wolves, apparently. They did it against Villa, apparently. That's buying in the trust with the fans. And, there's been a huge disconnect for ages between Arsenal and large groups of that fan base. And, it's all right, from the outside, I get to mock it. Don't get me wrong. But for you guys, that's massive. And I've seen it as a Wolves fan when, we've had, back when Nuno was doing fist pumps after winning a big game or whatever, what we saw was a big game. And, there's still a couple of tweaks and improvements. They don't have a 25-goal season striker. But if Saka continues to progress, if Smith Rowe, if Martinelli, he could be that guy for you. The key guy for me is Odegaard in the midfield. I think he has been, whenever I've seen him play, he has been a notch above for me, which is, again, a bit frustrating because they beat Wolves twice quite recently.
But Lee and Dan, a quick question for you guys. I haven't really heard Arsenal fans talk about this, but are you concerned about that fixture pile-up? We've seen Arteta come out and sort of complain about it, the fact that all your games in hand and all of that stuff, you're having to cram them in quite. Does that concern you as maybe a potential stumbling block in your top?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. I think you in this day and age, you've got to be doing it. Arsenal should be focused. The one thing I just think that maybe was a little bit, and I do think it's we got Chelsea on the Wednesday night, and then first up Man United. I can't remember the last time that Man United and Arsenal played on a Saturday morning, if I'll be honest. So I think that would be the only key thing of it. You're going to expect to have 3 games a week. Sometimes it's a good thing. When I also, if you're winning, I think it's a good thing. You know what I mean? You just win, tick over, win again. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a problem whatsoever. So I think that there's a few games where for instance, you still get a little bit of a break in there. And I think there's going to be a couple of times together. But I don't think it's a problem. It shouldn't be anyway.
I think what's interesting is this fixtures, because he come out in the and started to talk about fixtures. I'd say it was quite embarrassing, really. But seeing as we've not had European football, but I do think that it's been kind of key for Arsenal because we look at the Leicester game, the Liverpool game, which no one wants to play a midweek game anyway. But when you have to play and it's Liverpool, frustrating. And then obviously we go into Villa. And I think some of the games that we've got coming up are going to be a little bit like that as well, because they're going to have the Chelsea game, which has been put in the Tottenham game. We still don't know what that's going to be like. So I think that's really where we can sit and say we've got some kind of Europa League replacement games, I suppose they'd be. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I do look at Arsenal's fixtures, though, and I do worry because I think we've got the hardest run in. I really do. I think it's a real difficult time for us with those big games. So we have to prove that we have improved, if that makes sense, and show that we have made this progress people are talking about and go and beat those sides. But before we kind of wrap up, I want to ask Tobes about the North London derby and his thoughts going into that. Do you think that Arsenal are going to turn up like they did at the Emirates, or do you think you'll make it to the 44th minute this time, Tobes?
Okay, cool. That's what we're doing. I've given my thoughts on this many times on the Big Six. I don't care how inconsistent Spurs are. Something in me is telling me that we're going to beat you at our ground, and I'm sticking to that. I think we're going to beat you. Whether it's going to be enough to get top 4, I doubt it, because I imagine, apart from the obvious like 1 or 2 fixtures that I can see dropping points in, I think you'll do well to pick up points elsewhere. But yeah, I think that game, I think Spurs are going to win that game. I've been so confident about it. My friends are telling me, "Oh, you're cocky. How can you say Spurs are winning?" I'm sticking to it. I think Spurs, and I'm saying it, Spurs are winning that game for me. They're winning that game.
Could be another Lee Judge's TV clip.
If it is, then that's fine. That's fine. I'm nailing my master. That's fine. I have no qualms backing my team in a North London derby at home. I think there needs to be retribution for that pathetic performance at the Emirates. There has to be some sort of fight.
Different team though now, man. Different manager, different tactics, different. Kane and Son firing. It's going to be difficult.
I did want to ask a question to you and Lee though, a quick one as well. So, whereas you've actually enjoyed this run of form and you are going to face some more sort of trickier fixtures, do you think that there's a slight dip in form coming? Because I think all the teams around have sort of suffered dips. Like Spurs have been up and down for the whole of 2022. West Ham have slowly sort of like tailed off because their squad ain't really able to cope. Wolves has slowly tailed off as well. Man United have dropped points in god-awful fixtures that they shouldn't have dropped points in, like Watford, Burnley, and so on and so forth. So, do you think that there's a dip in form coming? And are you apprehensive about the sort of the numbers in your team now? Because obviously, whereas you didn't bring many people in January, you've got a small squad and it's performing well now. But I know Tom, you've coped well with the Tomiyasu injury as well. But all it takes is, and Emerson Smith to be fair, but we're talking maybe 3 injuries. 3, I think, is the limit Arsenal can take, and then bang, it all falls apart.
I think that is key. I think that is key, and I'll let you come in, Lee. I was just going to say quickly, though, that I think personally, my biggest worry was after Liverpool. So we had terrible start, bottom of the league, 3 games, right? Then we went on this run, and then we hit Liverpool at Anfield, and we lost. And then we went to Old Trafford, and we lost. And then we went to Goodison Park, and we lost. And I was done. I was just like, look, what is happening here? And then we went on a little nice run again, and we beat Leeds at Christmas, we beat Norwich at Christmas, and everyone was happy again. And then we got dumped out to Nottingham Forest, and then we got dumped out to Liverpool in the League Cup. And I thought, come on, we're going down a dip of form again here. Then we've started to go nice, and we hit Liverpool at Emirates on Wednesday night, and we lost. And I thought, right, this is going to be it. If we turn this round now, then we're not going to have our dip. Because Villa was a potential banana skin. Palace is a potential banana skin, as we mentioned earlier. This could be our dip of form. That I think probably will happen, Tobes, like you've said. But we did well against Villa. We kept the clean sheet and we got the win. And that's exactly what we need to do on Monday night. And at the moment, there seems to be the mentality shift in this team. The interesting point you make, before I bring Lee in, is the injuries. Because we are probably 2 or 3 key injuries away from being depleted, because we're such a paper-thin squad. So I look at somebody like Thomas Partey getting injured, somebody like Gabriel getting injured, and you've got Rob Holding and Lokonga coming in, and that weakens the side. If Lacazette does get injured, although I don't really rate him as a centre-forward, I don't think he's world-class or even class in that respect, we have got Eddie Nketiah if he gets injured. So we are really depleted with that. So that's going to be key, is injuries and whether we can keep this run going. Sorry, Lee, go on, mate.
No, I agree. I think that's the point. We've got key injuries. If we go through without Partey, Xhaka, and our central defenders not injured, we'll be okay. Because I think that, you know, if Smith Rowe, we've had Smith Rowe, we had Martinelli, there hasn't been missed. If you bring in Saka, you've got Pepe, you've got options down those side. You know, Cedric done a fantastic job on the right hand side. Don't forget we had Tierney out injured at the beginning of the season. We didn't miss him because Tavares come in and done a decent job, but it's those areas. Even like Ramsdale's out, and we've still got someone like Leno. So the key issues, those three players: Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka, and the 2 central defenders. So 4 players. Ultimately, though, the same can be said about Spurs. If Spurs were to get Kane or Song injured, then the thing change for them. So the injuries, I think, are a roll of the dice for anybody, whether you've got a big, strong squad or not. And key ones. I think that, you know, if even when you got the great sides, you know, if a Vieira and a Bergkamp got injured, we was in trouble, like, you know, and the same for other teams as well. Look at Liverpool last season, great side, had injuries and struggled. So you just got to have that, a little bit of lady luck on that. And I think as far as the form's concerned, if the defence holds up, which it looks like it is, I think that's the key. I think the reason that Arsenal are consistent this season is because defensively we're sound, you know, and I do think that's a big thing for us. I feel more confident. Do you know, like the Tottenham Man United game, that was Arsenal all over for minutes on, play really well, and then just as I was in the sense to give away a goal. We're not doing that now, like, you know. So, and I think that's why we're probably favourites for top 4.
Well, before we do wrap up, then let's ask everybody who they think is going to get 4th place, and we'll come back on in a couple of weeks. There's a couple of things I want to do in relation to combined 11s, and we want to talk a little bit more about how things are shaping up. So let's start with you, Tobes. Who's going to get 4th place this season, in your opinion?
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Arsenal.
Lawless?
I'm waiting to see that North London derby. I think that's going to be critical in terms of momentum, because I feel like the winner of that game is going to be the one who goes on to get top 4. But at the moment, Arsenal are definitely the leaders. But yeah, I think that game's huge.
Yeah, I think it's massive as well. Dan United, what are you going for? You sticking with Arsenal?
Yeah, and there's nothing to change my mind with it being Arsenal. I think. I mean, to be fair, as he says, actually, the North London derby is going to be interesting. But I think I just think, honestly, the form you're in at the moment, take Liverpool out of the equation, the result there, I kind of just can't see past you. Big 3 games ahead. Do you know what? As I go back to it, as Lee was talking about before, the game against Palace, that's massive because Palace aren't the same side. That is going to be a massive game. If they're in good form. They've just come off the back of a 0-0 against City. Holding City 0-0 is a great result. The 4-0 against Everton. So it's key. But I think Arsenal. I can't see past Arsenal at the moment.
Dan, I think you missed out. I think you missed out the biggest fixture Arsenal have got. They've obviously got to go to London Stadium. They're playing at the home of the eventual Europa League champions. So that's going to be the toughest game. That's going to be the toughest game they got left, mate.
Let it go, James. Let it go.
Yeah. Look at him. The salt is dripping.
You're my hero, mate. You're my hero.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
Love it.
You don't need no encouraging, I'll tell you that. Rich, what are you going for, man?
Yeah, I'm still thinking Arsenal. Although the fixtures aren't super kind, so I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry as. Well, we're all saying, like, I think, we're all pretty much in agreement. We think it's Arsenal's spot to lose at the moment, but a couple of tricky fixtures. And Toes made a great point earlier in terms of Arsenal's form and whether you've peaked slightly too early. And I think it's going to be a really, really cool couple of weeks for fans of all of us, to be honest, to sort of see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it will be an interesting one. Judges, you sticking with Gooners?
Yeah, just. So I agree with what Rich said. I think it'd be like by a point.
That is going to be tough. I'm going to go Arsenal just because the way that we are at the moment in terms of our balance. I think we are playing well. I think we're the best for it, and I think it's ours to lose. So I'm going to be optimistic and say that we can do this, and Mikel Arteta can convince me that he's the man to take us forward. I hope I'm right. Guys, this has been great, man. I've said to everybody I'm going to have to eat humble pie, man, because I've had some serious questions over where this club's going. If we get Champions League football, man, I'll happily eat humble pie and say how amazing it tastes. So let's see what happens. Guys, this has been great. I want to thank you all for coming on. Just quickly before we go, how can people follow you? Tobes, let's start with you, man. How can people follow you on social media?
Tapping Tobes across all socials, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, follow, share, subscribe. Come join the ride.
Brilliant stuff. Get yourself over there. Tapping Tobes. Lawless, what about yourself, mate?
At the Lawless on Twitter, or just Google Dan Lawless. All socials will come up. West Ham Fan TV, everywhere else, of course. Look out for me there.
Great stuff. Cheers for coming back on again, Dan Top Man. Dan United, what about yourself, bro?
Yeah, at Football One, turn on Instagram, the famed Instagram. It's Footballism, that is what I want. Home of ground hopping. Again, thanks for having me on, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Top man. Rich, yourself.
And last but not least, so you can catch me at Wolves Fancast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for your Wolves lols and trolls.
Brilliant stuff, man. Much appreciated for coming on, and we're going to keep you involved. Everyone's saying, what's a Wolves fan doing on the top 4 race? But man, we want to keep you involved, Rich, because we know a lot can change in football. So thank you all so much for coming on. Myself and Lee will be back throughout the week. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a break coming up, but we will be providing content as ever on Lee Judges TV. So please like and subscribe. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks to do another top 4 show with the same guys, same guests, and let's see if our opinions have stayed the same or if they have changed. Until then, we'll speak to you next time, and up the Arsenal.